why is this known as a miracle mineral?
There's both a cellular and central nervous system element to magnesium that allows you to go into that rest, relax mode so that you don't have that hamster brain at night.
For women who are thinking about if they haven't started a magnesium routine yet, what would be your recommendation in terms of a supplement regimen?
Magnesium is used in over 600 different functions in the body. It doesn't matter what diet that you follow. The likelihood that you are going to get sufficient levels of magnesium is virtually impossible.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Well Drop. Today we're tackling a common issue that affects so many of us, especially as we navigate different life stages, and that's mineral deficiencies. Specifically, we're diving into a world of magnesium. Are you experiencing fatigue, muscle cramps, sleep problems, or even mood swings? You might be low in this vital mineral. But here's the thing, not all magnesium is created equal. And today we're talking with experts from BiOptimizers, a company co-founded by Wade Lightheart, a 3-time Canadian natural bodybuilding champion and one of the world's premier authorities on optimizing human performance. Wade brings decades of experience in the fitness and nutrition industry to BiOptimizers, and they're dedicated to optimizing health through targeted supplementation. They're here to break down why taking just one form of magnesium isn't enough and how their unique approach can make a real difference, especially for women going through perimenopause and beyond. So get ready to unlock the power of magnesium with BiOptimizers. Welcome to the show, Wade. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Amber. It's a discussion that I love speaking to because when I was a personal trainer, before Matt and I started the company, we were both personal trainers. And I had a lot of females coming to me who were going through these type of situations. And I recognized that they had needs different from, say, men. Like there's some biological similarity as far as nutrition requirements, but when women start going through, peri, post menopause, menopause, like the whole sequence of things.
We have a lot.
A lot. Well, the thing is it's a lot of the hormonal fluctuations that start to happen. People don't realize that they've been offsetting nutritional deficiencies from years from maybe a stronger hormone profile. And oftentimes the people who had it the easiest, maybe going up to that point, it actually becomes the worst because all of a sudden they don't have that hormonal bank account to cash in on. And now the conditions or the challenges or the symptoms they're experiencing are even more exacerbated. And they're like, I don't understand this. I had this all down. I thought I knew my body. I've always been able to eat this way. I've been exercising this way, but something's not working. I got this little poofiness on my belly that won't go away. And I can't sleep at night. And then then you
I
always say the hamster wheel starts to roll, right? And, desperation comes in and then cortisol goes up, which further exacerbates it. And then, so I'm very passionate about this. And we have a lot, like over half of the people who subscribe to our magnesium product actually are females because they feel such a great relief.
Yeah, and it's so important. I mean, I think a lot of information, thank God, has been put out there over the years about the importance of taking magnesium, especially for sleep. And I think a lot of women are finally keen to it for, helping them to go to the bathroom because we're not really warned for our own personal bodies that like your entire metabolic flexibility shifts in your 40s. And so you sort of get flipped upside down, inside out, and everyone's body is so individualized. So you don't know what's going to happen to you until you're in it. And so I always believe in having a more preventative approach by, tracking your numbers, checking your blood work, and taking proper essential, nutrition, vitamin supplementation before you have a problem, hopefully, so that when those times do come, maybe sort of, I call it like slide into perimenopause rather than slam into it. I think for most people who don't understand, the importance of magnesium, can you maybe tell us, why is this known as a miracle mineral and why should people think about even taking magnesium in the first place? Why is this crucial for our bodies?
Yeah, well, there's a couple historical aspects so way back in my bodybuilding days, one of the issues that happens for athletes, specifically in a dehydrated state, and in bodybuilding, you have to dehydrate yourself as a performance aspect of the business, the performance parameters and on contest day. And one of the problems that you have is you throw off your magnesium calcium ratios and you'll get cramping. And if you've ever cramped on stage, it's brutal. It feels like your muscles are tearing off. There's a whole lot of brain fog issues, your ability to process information, your blood sugar can go haywire. So people can like just become excessive eat. Like it's very interesting as your body will do anything to rebalance that. And we have a couple of preemptive problems specifically in North America is that it doesn't matter what diet that you follow. The likelihood that you are going to get sufficient levels of magnesium is virtually impossible. And that's because when we went to what they call conventional farming or monoculture farming, we didn't rotate the crops, we didn't plow the hemp back in, we didn't put the manure on the thing. We just started using fertilizers to grow things. We depleted the mineral content. Then on top of that, we lowered the enzymatic activity and lowered the natural probiotic activity, which made the plants much more susceptible to disease. And they started loading on the chemicals and agents on top. Even the USDA allows 50 different chemicals in our products. And many of those actually interrupt the absorption of key minerals. Yeah. And we have a lab in Bosnia where it's a microbiology lab where we actually look at, you don't just feed yourself, you feed the bacteria in your gut, and then they convert our food into building blocks and energy units. They produce antioxidants and all of these really cool things. So if you don't have the right bacteria, that's a problem. Second thing is if you add a variety of magnesiums to the bacteria cultures, they begin to produce a whole array of things that you're not producing otherwise. So some of that poofiness that happens is in gut inflammation because you've got bad bacteria eating up the food and creating these toxins inside the system, neurotoxins, indole, skatol. It disrupts serotonin production, which is 95% in the gut. Magnesium is a key element for building that neurotransmitter. Serotonin makes you feel good, makes you feel connected, makes you feel happy.
Happy hormone.
And so magnesium becomes a key element there. The other thing is magnesium is the relaxation molecule. So there's both a cellular and central nervous system element to magnesium that allows you to go into that rest, relax mode so that you don't have that hamster brain at night. Did I turn off the iron? Is the stove on? Is the kids okay? What about, Johnny's got to go to school tomorrow, or, oh God, I didn't finish that paper.
List that
right. And so, because a person becomes in the fight or flight response all of the time.
Correct.
And I experienced this. So we built magnesium. I was actually taking magnesium. I was doing all of my blood work and, I had a great team on me. And I went through a crisis situation where I had a variety of stresses from my life. And I was stimulating my way out of it, just, pounding lots of caffeine and these type of things. And then I crashed and I did a brain scan. My brain was like a 72-year-old man.
Wow.
I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel healthy. I was in good shape, but and I also had severe emotional dysregulation, which often comes with these hormonal imbalances. Well, when I did my blood work, turned out I was deficient in magnesium. I'm like, how's that possible? I'm taking magnesium. So Matt and I, being the crazy experimenters we went out and bought every single magnesium there was on the market. And there's an old practice in orthomolecular nutrition, which was developed by Abram Hoffer, David Hawkins, and the two-time Nobel Prize winner, Linus Pauling. And what they would do is they treated all kinds of disease states with superdosing of nutrition. And the process is that you take an ingredient until you break GI tolerance, which is essentially you get the runs.
Right.
And some magnesiums will give you the runs really quickly. Okay. And some seem much more tolerant. And so in order to refill what I call the bucket theory, if you're depleted in an element of anything for any length of time, you have a hole in a bucket, which is your burn. That's your lifestyle burn. Okay. And the reservoir should be a full bucket. But if you're only replacing what you need or less than, you never have a full bucket of resources. So I was like, okay, I'm going to correct this. I'm going to start taking all these magnesiums. We started doing it. We had a lot of, scary moments on the toilet as we tried the higher dosage and stuff. And I know it might be too
Like,
much
oops,
info,
too
but then
much.
we found that if we started combining different magnesiums, we had a higher tolerance and we got better results. I started to feel better. My brain came back online. Everything was great. And then we isolated down to a variety of them. Then we sent it to the lab to see what was happening at the lab, what was happening on the microbiome level, what combinations work together in order to produce the best results. And that led to the development of Magnesium Breakthrough, which combines 7 different types of magnesium that allows you to get more effect for a smaller dose and allows you to take a higher dose to fill up that bucket. And so some people will increase, I suggest, start with 1 or 2 caps a day, and then you can increase the dosage until you feel good. And if you do get, digestive distress at some point, you get the runs, then you
He's back.
titrate back. And most people, after 3 months, have kind of refilled their magnesium bucket. And then they just take a maintenance dose, which is usually somewhere between 1 and 3 caps a day. Elements that will influence this: if you are subjected to a high caffeine consumption, caffeine disrupts magnesium absorption. If your microbiome is not on point, then you could have both problems taking it or problems disrupting it for whatever type of magnesium or any other nutrient. So you want to make sure that you have someone that can give you some advice on that area. And the third thing is, if you have high amounts of calcium in your diet and low amounts of magnesium, they exist in a 2-to-1 ratio. So your body will dump calcium to bring your magnesium up. And for women, particularly, this is a disaster because this leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis. And also, when your muscles are tight, they don't have so magnesium is involved in the relaxation side. So if I contract my biceps, my triceps has to relax. If I move my hips, so that achy, low-level stiffness that often occurs, or the fluctuations, or an increased amount of pain. So that could be from PMS, that could be from muscle tension, that could be headaches, because magnesium also vasodilates. So if, for example, vasoconstriction is one of the elements that leads to headaches. You're not getting enough oxygen and blood supply out, enough toxins out. And so magnesium opens up the arteries, opens up the venous supply, so you can get the toxins out and get the blood and oxygen into the brain so that you actually can think clearly and feel clearly. And so these elements, high levels of electromagnetic pollution, if you're subjected to that, and there's also a genetic component to that. So people my age, I'm in my 50s, we tend to be less resistant to electromagnetic pollution than, say, kids born, that they're 10 or 12, because they've been born in that adaptation. And you can actually look at your genetics to see if you are adaptive to EMF, because it's on a range. Some people can't be anywhere near
they're more
EMF
sensitive
radiation.
than
And so you'll see a variance on sensitivity, but magnesium content will improve your tolerance to high electromagnetic pollution environments.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned, I always say your body is your own best experiment. So I think it's so great that you and your partner experimented first on yourselves. I think most people really only know about magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate. How did you guys find these other forms of magnesium to know that this combination was a good combination? Are there more than how many did you say you had in there? 7 or 9?
7. Yeah,
Like, are
there's
there more
7.
magnesiums that you chose to not
Oh yeah.
include?
Yeah. So for example, so just so people understand, when it says magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, magnesium orotate, magnesium citrate, magnesium
What
bisglycinate,
is it? What is, like, everyone
sucrosomial,
supposed to
that's
take?
the bond that attaches to the magnesium. And that bond allows it to stay stable and to be absorbable and utilizable by the body. So that bond is going to change the size and molecular weight of that, and can have different impacts. And we don't have definitive proof on this. I want to be clear about this. But because magnesium is used in over 600 different functions in the body, every enzymatic activities, blood sugar regulation, electromagnetic heart things, neurotransmitter production, vasodilate, you just go down the list of this. It's crazy how much magnesium can impact. We believe that a dose of a variety of these in combination seems to deliver magnesium to more parts of the body. And why we get such a rash of testimonials from like, I've been in the industry my whole life since I was 15. I've never seen a product that has such a wide variety of ranges of positive responses. And it's just, if you're magnesium deficient, you might be taking one magnesium or another magnesium, but that's not really addressing your issue. And then also there's contaminants that can be involved in the product. Bioavailability is utilized, and most companies don't have the ability to do that type of testing. We have like 20 PhDs and master students running nonstop experiments
I
in our
do wanna
microbiology
dive
lab.
into that because I'm very
Yeah,
particular about the quality, and I try to educate not only my clients, but also the listeners about when you, because we're bombarded all the time, especially on social media, "Buy this, buy this, buy that." And I just even had a phone call this morning with someone who called me and said, "Okay, what am I supposed to get?" And how can someone decipher, like, I always tell people, make sure it's third party tested, having it be organic. Like, what are sort of your barometers for your products so that people can understand the level of the quality so that they can then see the difference between yours and somebody else's?
yeah, and this is the problem within the nutrition industry per se. And there's a couple of challenges that we can deal with. Some of it's regulation, and some of it's actually the industry itself. So when you're so if you're making, I'm going to go deep dive
Yeah,
here
no,
for
it's good because
all the
we're
listeners.
everyone's
So
confused. We
when,
wanna set the record
of
straight.
course, so if you're a manufacturer, you're going to put whatever supplement together. It could be magnesium, could be anything else. You have a bunch of raw suppliers, which the ingredients that go into it, and you purchase them. That they'll give you a lab assay that says it's got this element, it's got these other elements in it or not, or it's low in whatever the regulatory elements of contaminants might be, microplastics, whatever. And there's just tons of suppliers around the world, and of different types of magnesium or any other supplement
Yep.
that you could, whatever the ingredients are. Now, what most companies do is they see a trend, they maybe read a research paper, they don't have the ability to determine whether that research was definitive or not. We have a PhD who literally goes in and tells us if the study is valid or not, because there's a lot of faux
Oh,
studies that
yeah.
someone just needed to get their paper done. Second, Raw's the lab assay, third party lab assay isn't sufficient enough to determine the bioavailability. I've seen raws that are 100% that ingredient, no contaminants. You put it in the body, it's completely biologically unavailable.
And why
I've seen
is that?
elements that are only, who knows?
Don't know.
It could be the sourcing. It could be some sort of external contaminant. Maybe it got irradiated. Maybe some other element in the extraction process. They were using a chemical extraction process. For example, seed oils. Seed oils aren't really the problem. The problem is the extraction process of chemicalization to seed oils, to give you an example,
Yeah.
that creates the problem. So they say it's seed oils. No, it's not that. People will say it's gluten. Well, no, because they go to Europe and they can eat, non-genetically modified, non-sprayed food, and they don't have a problem with gluten. So it's the contaminants on the wheat per se that's causing the gluten intolerance. And so as you get down to orders of magnitude, but for the general public, you can throw out a couple of good sounding ideas,
Yeah.
and you might have really great intentions of a company, but you have no way of validating this in a real lab where you have the ability to extract that information. And that was an area that Matt and I identified early on in our careers. And we said, we really want to be able to go to the next level, because that's part of the BiOptimizers um, culture, is we want to make the very best product we possibly can. And we want to prove it,
I love
that
that.
we can do it. And it's an ongoing experiment. We're never satisfied. Like, you talk to me 2 years from now, we're going to find, if we can, a better way to make every single product that we
Yeah.
can. But we don't feel that we're limited. We don't think that we've always reached that top. We're always growing. And that's also one of the other elements that I think people should look for in a company of great repute, whatever the product is what is their money back guarantee? We do 365, literally 365 days you can return profit. Didn't work for you, fine. Just give your money back. Second thing is, what is the level of interaction from their customer support? Can you call somebody? Are you talking to a robot? Are you talking to a machine? Are you can you pick up the phone? Can you send a text? Can you send an email? And does a real person get back to you in a timely
Yeah, no,
manner?
you guys are very responsive. For anybody, we will have a link in the show notes, but you definitely need to check out the website. I mean, the amount of information, I've never seen a company give so much information and have so
Yeah.
many like testimonials from clients, and you could tell that it feels like this grassroots family movement over there, that you guys have created, and that you really get a sense of how much you care about the product. And I think people have to remember to seek items that there's someone behind it that genuinely is putting their heart into it. Of course, it's a business, but still, you could tell that you are trying to keep elevating your products by all the different things that you do, and it really sets you guys apart from, just somebody else with a big name and a big, manufacturing process. Because there's a lot of
Well,
magnesium out
thank you
there.
for that.
So
Yeah.
and especially with the bioavailability, I think it's a really interesting point that you bring up that if you're going to take something, my belief is you want to take something that's going to be the best and that's going to actually work, because I think people don't realize there is so much crap out there, because there's it's a big gray space of what you're allowed to do. And so we have to actually be a little bit more protective of our bodies to just take a minute before you click buy, like take a second to just do a little bit of research to make sure that the one that you're choosing is going to make the most impact, because otherwise it's a waste, right? You're just putting, like you said, there's all these an equal magnesium, you could take it and it's not even doing anything. So what's the point?
Well, there's nothing more expensive than a product that doesn't work,
Right.
and that's why I always say that you want to stand behind that. Matt and I came from a very small town Canada, and so what's interesting when you grow up in a small town, you know everybody in that town. So you know if Bob the mechanic can actually do his job.
Right.
You know if the restaurant cook is an alcoholic and messes up the food half the time. You know if this person doesn't, like, everybody in town. So you built a culture of your reputation in a small town, and then you get to a bigger town and a bigger town. And so there's some elements of small towns that work really well from that standpoint. Everybody knows everybody's business, which some people don't like in a small town. You
Yeah.
can't, and you can hide out in a big town.
Yep.
So we created a small town mentality as we started this business. And we were personal trainers. I worked in the nutrition industry, had my own store. I worked at every single level in the warehouse. I worked as a representative. I worked as a sponsored athlete. And I knew the dark side of the supplement industry. And what I found is 5% of the companies are amazing. And almost all of them are founder led, who had some sort of problem or challenge, went to the market, got disappointed, went on a mission, found those elements that worked, put it together, started selling it to their friends and their neighbors or whoever had that problem within their community, and then built a company out of it. And that's exactly what we did. We started the company literally on digestion because I had digestive issues after the Mr. Universe contest, and we figured out the digestion. And then when we had a robust profile of those products that were very successful, we then just start going down and like, what's an element that we feel we can build a superior product that will address a specific need to help people live longer, stronger, and healthier lives. And that's it. And by doing that, you spend more money on the production cost because as a company, you have two options. You either make the cheapest product possible and market the crap out of it because there's a trend, and then that trend falls off because the product doesn't
Right.
work, or you spend a lot of money on product and you build a grassroots following of people who like it, who solved it, and want to advocate for it. And over the last 20 years, that's what we've done. And it's why some of the biggest, most influential names in the industry recommend Magnesium Breakthrough, because they've tested it, they've vetted it, they've got the feedback, they've had their customers. They're not losing their value as an influencer, which they've cultivated by sharing people proper information like you do. And that goes a long way. So we played the long game. It was slower to go, but now the
Yeah,
brand has
now
been
everyone
exploding, and
knows.
Magnesium's been great. So it's now nice that we can get out and help more people, which is our mission. Like,
I love
I
that.
just
Yeah,
want to
and
help
most
more and more people
doctors,
live well.
it's funny, especially talking about headaches. Most doctors don't even suggest, they don't think to suggest magnesium for headaches as a starting point, right? They're going to suggest like stronger drug. Question for you. So, for women who are thinking about if they haven't started a magnesium routine yet, what would be your recommendation in terms of a supplement regimen, dosage, timing? Like, should you take it just at night, morning at night, and night? What is your recommendation in order to get the most efficacy out of the product?
Like anything, habits that you can sustain work over time. And so if you are a coffee drinker or you like caffeine, I would suggest taking one cap with your morning meal or your morning coffee, like right off the bat, because you're going to withhold your ability to absorb magnesium, like get a smack in there. And now, of course, everyone's talking about, hey, if you can pause that coffee for like 90 minutes before after your growth, you're probably better off. But that's a good time. Get up, take your magnesium. And then the easiest is 2 caps before bed. For most ladies, 1 or 2 caps are probably going to be sufficient to get a benefit. If you're living high stress, if you're really compromised, doing a lot of caffeine, you're in a high EMF world, or you got a lot going on, I would say take a divided dosage of maybe 1 cap in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, and see how that goes. And once you've done 3 months, titrate it down. You probably don't need as much. That might be counterintuitive for people to say, well, don't you sell those supplements? But I just want people to just get the
Yeah.
result. We have a wide variety of products that can change people's lives. And there's a lot of other great companies out there that are changing people's lives. So I always say, pick something that you can sustain and that you give it enough time that you get the benefits. The good things with magnesium, you take 2 caps a day for a couple of weeks, you're going to feel the difference. And that's why we have that guarantee.
And I
And
think you
by the way,
gave
we
a
have the
great
lowest refund rate in the industry.
I think you also said something that's important to highlight is to do it for at least 3 months. Like, I always tell people, you need to give things time. I think because we're in an instant gratification society, people expect it to smack you in the face, and with sort of these minerals and vitamins, when you're doing proper supplementation, it's a more gradual process. So you might not fully notice at first, but then it's sort of all of a sudden you like kind of turn around like, oh yeah, I slept really good last night. Or oh yeah, like I've been going to the bathroom regularly. It's one of those you sort of have the aha moment rather than it like, taking you over and you're like, oh wow, I slept amazing. Like, it's not going to happen just overnight. That your body, it takes time to adapt, it takes time to adjust. And our body, I believe, are self-healing creatures, and so we have to give it that patience and that time and space.
2 elements where I will suggest, though, if, on those 2 elements, if it is sleep that you're struggling with, or if it is constipation, you'll probably get results much faster. So 2 caps before you go to bed. And if you're doing a sleep tracker, you're going to see that deep sleep, or you're going to wake up and feel rested. And
And I actually wanted to
it's
bring up your
king.
sleep breakthrough products 'cause
Yes.
I just recommended
Yeah.
that to somebody, and I have amazing sleep, so I really didn't even need it, but I tried it because I was recommending it to somebody who was having some severe problems, and wow. Can you explain what that is? 'Cause we have a lot of people who do have some sleep problems, and I always believe in your starting point is wellness at home. So first, creating a sleep sanctuary in your house, setting your room up properly with light and your phone and everything. But even if that isn't enough, what is in sleep breakthrough that everybody needs to know about?
Yeah. Well, first off, Matt, my business partner, has a genetic precursor for bad sleep. His father has it, his family members have it. And so I would say he's probably one of the premier experts in the world on sleep, just from his own research to solve his own problems. So, sleep breakthrough was a combination of the elements that had the most universal appeal to people who suffer from sleep problems. And there's 2 parts to it. There's also a dream optimizer that goes with it. And that's particularly for people who struggle with REM sleep. That's kind of like the defragging of the brain. And then the deep sleep is coming from the sleep breakthrough. Any amount of magnesium, once you top it up, you're going to see a benefit. But if you're really struggling, sleep breakthrough is a combination of the elements that kind of put you over the top. And then if you really want to go to the next level and really work on your REM, or you enjoy Carl Junging your dream therapy because the robustness and recollection of your dreams increases dramatically as your REM goes up. And it's also connected to what's called alpha brainwave. So that product, it's a powder. One of the elements when you get into why it's a powder as opposed to a capsule is that the dosing used for that is very individual specific. So I tell people start with 1 scoop, then try 2, then you can try 3. Very few people can handle more than 3
No, it
because
knocked
you can
me out
actually get,
after one
yeah, you
in
can
1
get,
hour.
you
I'm
can,
like,
exactly. So why we made it that powder is that you can just titrate your dose to get it right. Start with magnesium first. That may just correct your sleep
yeah,
problems and you won't need that product. But I love Sleep Breakthrough, right? It's a super combination of sleep elements that would allow you. And we just upgraded the formula, so I won't reveal all the details on it. You can go to the website and check it out. But because we found some tweaks, by tracking everybody's sleep data, we have all these biohackers that are tracking the sleep
yep,
data, and we saw variances. And then Matt has a Faraday cage, and he has all the lights off, and he has a temperature to a certain thing. He has a specialized mattress, and he has like a delta width. Like he's just gone down the research you
yeah.
can get on that. So you probably want to bring him back
We
because
talked
he'll
about sleep.
illustrate the key elements of that particular. I think it's one of the best products we make in the entire company. It's amazing. That and microbiome breakthrough, I think, for leaky gut stuff. I think those 2 products are kind of like unknown products within the BiOptimizers and world that just solve problems in those areas really
I
well.
love that. Are there any misconceptions when it comes to magnesium?
Yes. Um, Number one, all magnesiums are not equal. So, for example, if you take something like the most common magnesium out there is citrate, it's
Yep.
very inexpensive. It's the one that leads to the runs quickest. Now, citrate is really good for people who are suffering from constipation. But if you're trying to dose up your magnesium using a citrate, you're never going to fill the bucket. You're going to get the runs way too
Oh,
soon and
that's
you'll
good to
never get
know.
that full bucket feeling. That's another thing. There's another product out there. It's in the threonate is one that has been proven to cross the blood-brain barrier. We don't include that in the product because the licensing elements of the company don't allow you to put other magnesiums and use their research. And so there's a perception out there that, oh, threonate's the better because you have to have it as a singular form or it's only with a tiny amount of other elements. That's a little bit of a misnomer. And we'll be revealing that with some of the research we're publishing this year with some human trials that we've been doing to kind
Yeah.
of illustrate that I'm not saying that it doesn't cross the brain barrier, but it's not that there isn't other elements that cross the brain barrier. It was you weren't able to prove it. And that's largely in part of the cost of human trials. And they've done that. And that is a patented product.
Yeah.
So we've got another element that I think people are going to be quite delighted about in kind of blowing up those myths about what gets into the brain and what doesn't. So that'll be out later in the year.
I love that. Well, I think this has been such a great conversation for women to know to try your magnesium. It really just caters to a host of different things, whether if it's gut, perimenopause symptoms, if it's sleep, I mean, you name it, headaches. I think that it hits so many marks that it's worth trying to see if it makes a difference, and like you said, within a short period of time, most people are feeling a magnificent change. How we always love to close out our conversations. What is one drop of wellness wisdom you like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, it's a philosophical aspect in why we do what I do. I've been graced with a lot of wonderful spiritual teachers, and I've had a lot of experiences in my own world that I'm very grateful for. And what I came to the realization one day is I'm a single cell in the human body throughout all of time. So rather thinking us as individuals, I think of us as cells of one single organism. There's 10,000 generations before that are inside of me, inside of you, the genetics, the elements that made us. And the decisions we make today aren't just for ourselves. but they're passed on into the human organism throughout all of time. And the fact that we've overcome all of these challenges historically as humans to get to this point means that whatever challenge that you're facing today as an individual, you have thousands of generations of ancestors that overcame a whole lot of problems that you don't have today. And your particular task, your job is to solve those challenges for yourself today and pass that information to the cells around you, your friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids, whatever that happens to be. And I believe if I can do that a little bit and contribute to the human health of the over time, then I've been a good little cell in the human body, and I try to do my best. And so maybe we can all kind of adapt that philosophy, and it becomes more unifying in our concept. We need liver cells, we need brain cells, we need muscle cells.
I need them all.
Guess what? That's why we have variances and differences with people, but we're all part of one human
Oh,
organism.
I love that. Thank you. I think that is so powerful. And thank you for shedding a light on the importance of magnesium. I think it really will help to give clarity for people trying to decide what to take, where to go, what do I need. And we'll definitely have your partner back and dive into sleep, and some microbiome is always a hot topic over here. Thank you so much for being on the Well Drop today. It's a pleasure
Thank
having
you so much.
you.
And of course, when they purchase, they get a discount code with you. And if they buy a larger supply, they get even a deeper discount as well. And it's all backed by a 365-day, 100% guarantee. If it doesn't outperform any magnesium you've ever taken before in your
You
life,
can give it
or you
back.
didn't
We'll
get the
have it
results you want,
in the show notes. Click the link,
sell it all.
give it a try.
We'll give it back, give your money back, and redeploy it to some other element that will help you get the goals that you want to achieve.
Perfect. Thank you. We love that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.